and last-minute meetings that could have been emails. But the worst was the night he called me at 2 a.m. Hello?
Chloe, I need you at the office right now. No questions asked.
For a second, I thought I was dreaming. Mark, it's 2 in the morning. What's going on?
There's an issue with the quarterly report. It needs to be redone before the morning meeting. Get here in 30 minutes and quit asking me silly questions.
I sat up, fully awake now. My apartment wasn't in the safest neighborhood, and going out at that hour wasn't just inconvenient. It was dangerous. Can't this wait until morning? I can come in early and quickly correct the issue.
Did I stutter? I need you here. Or should I find someone else who's actually serious about this job?
I knew I had no choice. If I refused, he'd find a way to punish me. So I got dressed, called for a ride, and headed to the office feeling so frustrated. When I arrived, the office was eerily empty. Mark sat at his desk, looking completely unbothered.
Took you long enough. You should have been a snail if you would be this slow as a human. Get to work.
I wanted to scream, and started fixing the report. My hands were shaking from exhaustion, my brain foggy from lack of sleep, but I kept working. Minutes turned into hours. At 4 a.m., I finally hit save and turned to Mark. It's done. Is there anything else?
I wish there was. You can leave now.
I stared at him in shock. No appreciation, no acknowledgement of the insane hour. It's funny how power changes people. Some handle it with grace, using their authority to uplift those around them. Others let it twist them into something unrecognizable. Mark Simmons was one of the latter. Hi, my name is Chloe, and this is my story. When I first started working at the company, Mark wasn't a manager. He was just another employee, someone trying to climb the corporate ladder like the rest of us. Back then, he was decent. He wasn't my best friend, but he was approachable, very friendly and even helpful when he wanted to be. I remember my first day on the job. I was fresh out of college and nervous as hell. Mark was one of the first people to introduce himself.
You must be Chloe. Welcome aboard. Don't worry, this place isn't as scary as it seems.
He showed me around, gave me tips on how to impress the higher-ups, and even cracked a joke to put me at ease. I remember thinking he's someone I can work with, and for a while, that's exactly how it was. Whenever I had questions, he answered them. If I needed advice on a project, he offered suggestions. He wasn't overly generous, but he was fair, a decent coworker. But then Mark asked me out and wanted me to be his girlfriend. I politely told him I wasn't interested. But then he got promoted and everything changed. The moment Mark became a manager, it was like a switch flipped. The easygoing guy who used to joke around during meetings was gone. The one who gave helpful advice was now replaced with someone who scrutinized everything I did, picking apart my work for the smallest flaws. At first, I thought I was imagining it. Maybe he was just adjusting to his new role, trying to prove himself. But it wasn't just me. Everyone noticed the shift. He suddenly carried himself with an air of superiority, talking down to people he once saw as equals. It was like he'd been waiting for this moment to control us all. And for some reason, I became his favorite target. It started subtly. He dismissed my ideas in meetings, even when I knew they were good. I think if we adjust the timeline for this project, we can...
That won't work. Next.
At first, I thought he just disagreed, but then it became a pattern. He started nitpicking my work, finding faults where there weren't any. Deadlines got tighter, expectations higher. I worked late, harder than ever, but it didn't matter. Nothing I did was ever enough for him. The worst part? He acted like it was all in my head, like I was the one overreacting. My coworkers even noticed.
Mark's been on your case a lot lately.
I know, right? It's like he's looking for reasons to criticize me.
Maybe he just expects more from you. You are one of the best here.
I wanted to believe that, but deep down, I knew better. Mark wasn't pushing me because he believed in me. He was pushing me because he could. I thought things couldn't get worse with Mark, but I was wrong. It wasn't just that he criticized my work or dismissed my ideas. He was determined to make my life as miserable as possible. It started with impossible deadlines, late emails demanding changes right before submission, and last-minute meetings that could have been emails. But the worst was the night he called me at 2 a.m. Hello?
Chloe, I need you at the office right now. No questions asked.
For a second, I thought I was dreaming. Mark, it's 2 in the morning. What's going on?
There's an issue with the quarterly report. It needs to be redone before the morning meeting. Get here in 30 minutes and quit asking me silly questions.
I sat up, fully awake now. My apartment wasn't in the safest neighborhood, and going out at that hour wasn't just inconvenient. It was dangerous. Can't this wait until morning? I can come in early and quickly correct the issue.
Did I stutter? I need you here. Or should I find someone else who's actually serious about this job?
I knew I had no choice. If I refused, he'd find a way to punish me. So I got dressed, called for a ride, and headed to the office feeling so frustrated. When I arrived, the office was eerily empty. Mark sat at his desk, looking completely unbothered.
Took you long enough. You should have been a snail if you would be this slow as a human. Get to work.
I wanted to scream. Instead, I opened my laptop and started fixing the report. My hands were shaking from exhaustion, my brain foggy from lack of sleep. But I kept working. Minutes turned into hours. At 4 a.m., I finally hit save and turned to Mark. It's done. Is there anything else?
I wish there was. You can leave now.
I stared at him in shock. No appreciation, no acknowledgement of the insane hour. He just asked me to leave like I was some slave. My normal shift starts at 7. Can I at least come in a little later?
No. Be on time, else you'll be punished.
I could feel my body shutting down. But I left, went home, and tried to sleep, only to wake up to my alarm 3 hours later. I dragged myself back to the office, fighting through the exhaustion. My head was pounding, my body felt like lead, and I barely had the strength to keep my eyes open. I got in at 7:30, 30 minutes late. Mark was waiting for me at my desk, arms crossed, with a smug look on his face.
You're late.
I was here at 2 in the morning, Mark.
And work starts at 7 and you're 30 minutes late. I'm deducting this from your salary.
I felt like I'd been slapped. I had given everything to this job, sacrificed my sleep, my sanity. And still, it wasn't enough. I wanted to scream, to quit on the spot. But I didn't, because I needed the money. I knew Mark didn't care about me, but I never expected him to push me so far that my body would give up completely. It happened on a Friday night. Everyone had left the office except me. Mark had piled extra work on my desk right before closing time. Reports, spreadsheets, revisions, things that weren't even in my job description. I was exhausted, but I knew if I refused, there would be consequences. So I stayed. The hours dragged on. Midnight came and went. My head was pounding, my hands shaking as I typed. My body felt like it was running on fumes, but Mark didn't care. He was still there too, sitting in his office, pretending to work while scrolling through his phone. Every now and then, he'd walk past my desk, making sure I was still there, still working like some machine that never got tired. At some point, I stopped keeping track of time. My vision blurred. The words on my screen swam together. I tried to focus, but everything felt heavy. And then, I fainted. I didn't remember hitting the floor. But when I woke up, I was in a hospital bed. Apparently, the cleaner had found me on the floor when she came in for her shift. She saved me. Mark had left me there after I fainted and went home like nothing happened. The doctor said I was overworked and dehydrated. My body had just shut down. I had to stay in the hospital for a week to recover. The day I returned to the office, I was barely inside when Mark was waiting for me, holding a white envelope.
You're fired.
I stared at him. I was so shocked and confused. How could he fire me right after I returned from the hospital? I asked him why, and his excuse was that I'd been gone for a week, and they needed someone reliable. I couldn't breathe. Mark, please. I was in the hospital. You made me stay late. I was overworked because of you.
Not my problem. Take your stuff and leave.
I begged and pleaded. I had given everything to this company. But he just smirked, turned his back, and walked away. That was it. That was how he rendered me jobless. For weeks, I tried to find something new. I sent out resumes, went to interviews, but nothing worked. It was like the world had turned its back on me. I was running out of money. My savings were draining fast. I felt helpless and stuck. Then, a friend of mine introduced me to Forex trading. At first, I was hesitant because it felt risky, but I had no other options. I invested half of my savings, and in 4 months, I was insanely rich. With the money I made from Forex trading, I didn't just stop there. I invested in businesses, real estate, tech startups, anything that showed promise. And I made millions. My life transformed in a way I never imagined. A year later, I couldn't believe how rich I'd become. One day, while scrolling through the news, I saw a familiar name. It was my former company, the company where I had discarded like trash. Seeing the company made me remember how Mark treated me, and I felt angry all over again. But then, in the news, I saw that they were on the verge of shutting down over bankruptcy. I couldn't believe it. What has happened in 1 year? Before I left, the company had so much potential of doing even better. How did they go bankrupt? Then, an idea suddenly came to me. I was going to buy the company. And I did. I bought the company, its assets, and its workers. The news hit like an earthquake. The employees were shocked, but no one was more stunned than Mark. The man who once held power over me now stood before me, speechless and shocked. He had always seen me as beneath him, someone to step on. Now I was his boss and his owner.
Chloe, I'm so happy for your growth. Wow.
He was shaking, probably expecting me to fire him on the spot. And for a second, I considered it. But then, I had a better idea. I made him my personal assistant. Usually, his salary would be high. But I paid him even lesser than the gatekeeper. I let every single employee send him on errands and speak to him however they pleased. No title, no power, no authority. Just a glorified errand boy. For 3 months, Mark endured daily humiliation. He ran for coffee, printed hundreds of papers, rushed back and forth between offices, and even got yelled at by interns. One day, he made a small mistake, and I punished him by making him clean the toilets. He was stunned but obeyed. He had a family to support, and his wife had just given birth. He needed the money and was too scared to risk getting fired. Another time, I told him we had a meeting at 1 a.m. in the office. He woke up, drove there in the middle of the night, and waited. But I never showed up. When he called, I had already put my phone on silent and went to sleep. I didn't arrive at the office until 8 a.m., where I found Mark still waiting for me, exhausted and frustrated. I didn't even apologize. I just smirked and walked into my office. One day, after another grueling shift, he came into my office, looking utterly drained.
I can't do this anymore. I'm drained and exhausted. I quit.
I almost laughed at him. He really thought he could just walk away? I leaned forward, pretending to be understanding. Mark, don't be so hasty. What if I paid you 4 times your salary? His eyes lit up. He was so desperate and stupid that he believed me. He stayed for 2 more months, but I never paid him the extra money or any money at all. Instead, I gave him more work, more stress, more humiliation. Every time he asked about his raise, I'd smile and say, soon. He kept pushing through, waiting for that big payday that would never come. Until one day, he just stopped coming to work. Later, I heard he had been hospitalized. He was overworked, stressed, and completely broken, just how I'd been when I was under him. And me, I was happy, because I finally had my revenge. I later heard that when he was discharged from the hospital and money was tight, he took up a receptionist position at a hotel and is even underpaid. Ever since, he has become a changed man and is now humble. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel.